I mean, if you have a fractured ankle, I think you're going to probably know that you can't do too much on it because it won't be able to hold you up, right? But let's say you just have arthritis pain, or let's say you just tweaked a little ligament, or you tore a calf muscle. You would do your initial RICE, rest, ice, compression, elevation protocol, which is what all athletic trainers for every professional team in the world does. Maybe some topical pain medications. And then when your swelling went down, you might want to take some anti-inflammatories briefly as well, although I'm not a huge fan of those because they do slow down tissue healing, but in cases they are important. Anyway, you go through your initial 1 to 2 days of RICE, or rest, ice, compression, elevation. Depending on your age, like 16-year-olds, you can get away with maybe 1 day of that and then start to ease into things. People in my age group, it might take 2 or 3 days. And then you just kind of, let's say you're a runner. Instead of running, you would walk and then lightly jog to see how it feels. If that hurts, you back off and just walk. And then if the jogging doesn't hurt, you would walk a little bit more, add a little bit more. Most professional athletes add only 10% a week to their schedules of activities, so you can kind of sort of think in those terms. But if you find, let's say you're heel striking and you constantly drop to the outside and it hurts, that's kind of a sign of really pathologic instability. Those are the times you need to go get seen, because you might need a brace, you might need taping, you might need physical therapy. But for my purposes, I've torn my calf muscle before running on the beach barefoot. Not the smartest thing in the world because I was really out of shape when I did it. What I did was I used a heel lift for a while and compression. And after about a week, it started to feel better. And then I eased into walking, and then very slowly over the next 2 weeks, brought back in running, and it eventually healed itself.